Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So nice to have you all here. Such a beautiful community. I was just having this gratitude feeling. This such a beautiful community. So grateful for all of us to come together. There's nothing that quite gets us out of bed, I guess, and quite gets us excited than wanting to speak about Srila Prabhupada and everything that he went through. Such a special personality, and I mean, the reason why we're all here, right? So what better than to come here and read about his life, his legacy, his journey, his teachings, the impact that he's had on all of the conditioned souls, if you'd like to say, or the people that met him on his path, and to this day, well after he's left this world. Closer to my mouth, yes. And we're closing the curtains. Jai Jai Shri Radha Govardhan Dari Ki Jai, Krishna Balaram Ki Jai, Govinda Ki Jai. So, first of all, today you would have this little booklet in front of you called From Jaladuta to the World, Monday 11th August, A Lifetime of Preparation. This is the first of four, let's call them cantos, we can call them sections or chapters of Prabhupada's life that we're going to go through in these 4 nights with tea and cookies in the background, all reading through various parts of Srila Prabhupada's life, which is essentially little kind of excerpts from various texts, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Prabhupada Messenger of Godhead, and also some memories and conversations that have been put together. Driti has made this wonderful book along with all of her volunteers, so thank you to all of them. This booklet is yours. It's yours. And what we'll do throughout these reading sessions is we'll pass the microphone around to those willing readers. You're very welcome to put your hand up to read. It's split into sections, so you'll see that there's a bolded part and it'll carry on to the next session. So welcome to read a section and pass it around. We ask the mics to be kept very close to your mouth. Of course, reading not too fast, not too slow, enunciated words so we can all hear them, and it's live streamed as well, so we can also make sure that everyone at home can hear that. And as we progress along towards the end, there's some questions towards the end of the books that you'll see. Just after the last part of the reading, there's some questions posed to us, and you would have had some pens passed to you. Just picking them out here. So you'll see, just at the end, you have places for notes. Questions like, please take a few moments to reflect on what you've heard and felt during these readings and offer your thoughts, gratitude and commitments in honor of Srila Prabhupada. And there's some questions that are posed for these readings. What touched your heart most during these readings? Other questions such as what one commitment you can make to help carry Srila Prabhupada's mission forward, a message of gratitude or prayer to Srila Prabhupada, and others. And so towards the end, at the end of the reading, which will take approximately 45 minutes, we'll ask you to split off into pairs and go through them and write down your reflections and your realizations and on what you've heard. So, Srila Prabhupada's life is so special. It's one of a kind. It bears such meaning when read together in such a nice group of people, especially with those dear disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So we're very honored to be in your presence to be able to read this with you. I think oftentimes we have Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. It's one of my favorite days of the year. I know many of us favorite days of the year. But it's just one day, we get to hear about Srila Prabhupada one day. There's often Janmashtami preparations and all these things that carry into it, so it gets quite busy. But to have each night leading up into it, listening and hearing about Srila Prabhupada is so special, and will have a great mood for us coming into that day. So that's the intention today. So we can start with this first chapter, this first canto, From Jaladuta to the World, A Lifetime of Preparation. Who would like to start? Anyone who's confident? I think we haven't thought through how the reading will go, but we just thought. Yes. Yeah, you can read that a little bit. And then you can carry on first, or you can pass on. Sure.
This year marks 60 years since Srila Prabhupada boarded the Jaladuta to fulfill his spiritual master's instruction and bring Krishna consciousness to the West. Alone, with no resources, but full faith in Krishna, he planted the seed to the movement that has now touched every corner of the world. Over the next 4 evenings, we will retrace his journey through readings from books about Srila Prabhupada. Together we will follow his footsteps from his early preparation in India, across the ocean, into the streets of New York, and through the decades of ISKCON's worldwide expansion. May these readings deepen our gratitude, strengthen our faith, and inspire us to carry forward the mission Srila Prabhupada so lovingly began. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Did you want to read it?
You can read it. That's it.
Otherwise it'll take too long. Oh, okay. Oh, this is better. Srila Prabhupada's birth. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, Volume 1, Chapter 1. It was Janmashtami, the annual celebration of the event of Lord Krishna, some 5,000 years before. Residents of Calcutta, mostly Bengalis, and other Indians, but also many Muslims and even some British, were observing the festive day, moving here and there through the city streets to visit the temples of Lord Krishna. Devout Vaishnavas, fasting until midnight, chanted Hare Krishna and heard about the birth and activities of Lord Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam. They continued fasting, chanting and worshipping throughout the night. The next day, September 1, 1896, in a little house in the Tolugaj suburb of Calcutta, a male child was born. Since he was born on Nandasattva, the day Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, had observed a festival in honor of Krishna's birth, the boy's uncle called him Nandala, but his father, Gaur Mohandi, and his mother, Rajani, named him Abhay Charan, one who is fearless, having taken shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. In accordance with Bengali tradition, the mother had gone to the home of her parents for the delivery. And so it was that on the banks of the Ariganga, a few miles from his father's home, in a small 2-room mud-walled house with a tiled roof, underneath a jackfruit tree, Abhay Charan was born. A few days later, Abhay Charan returned with his parents to their home at 151 Harrison Road. An astrologer did a horoscope for the child, and the family was made jubilant by the auspicious reading. The astrologer made a specific prediction. When this child reaches the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. Would anyone else like to take over now? Yep. Here's a bigger version.
Whereabouts are we? Srila Prabhupada remembers when he was 6 months old. This is Hawaii, January 29th, 1975, a Bhagavad Gita lecture. I have several times spoken to you that when I was about 6 months old, I remember I was lying down on my older sister's lap and she was knitting. I still remember it very vividly. So many things I remember. Sankarshan Das. You know Mr. Dr. Bose, he was a prominent physician and chemist at that time. So his childhood, we have heard from our family members that he was suffering typhoid. It is a severe disease that time. It was very difficult to cure. That time medicine was not invented, typhoid medicine. So anybody in the family suffering typhoid, they are going to die. In the case of Srila Prabhupada, it has happened at the age of 2 years. His father and mother were giving medicine and the doctor was coming. Kartik Bose, their family physician. and family members, you can say. So they are all, what to do, nervous. Father, mother, they are unable to do anything. Day by day the sun is going down. The fever is not in remission. Day by day he is not taking anything. So in the family it is chaos. What to do? So doctor came. They say, there is no medicine. He is very weak and he is going to die. Clearly doctor mentioned to Guru Maharaja, if you give him that meat, I mean chicken soup, then the boy will survive because he will get strength. Guru Maharaja did not agree because he is a pure Vaishnava. So he does not agree. His mother Rajni also does not agree. In the family members, nobody agreed. Finally, doctor says, no, he is so nice boy. Day by day he is not taking anything. He is going to die. I do not like this thing. I will bring cook in my house. I will bring and I will feed the boy. They said, no, don't do that. But doctor never listened. Doctor made this chicken soup. He brought in Guru Maharaja's house and he is giving this chicken soup on his tongue. But he never accepted it. Whenever it comes to his mouth, immediately he vomits. So Guru Maharaja said, don't do that. I do not like. We are pure Vaishnava. I do not like this thing. My son from the very birth is vegetarian. So please, you go. Guru Maharaja said to the doctor, you go please. I am leaving my son in the hand of Krishna. If Krishna saves my son will be saved. Or if Krishna wants my son to die, my son will die. So they take Abhay Charan to the temple and keep the son, praying, father and mother. Krishna, it is your desire, you save my son. Then they put Charanamrita as medicine. Instead of soup, chicken soup, they are putting Charanamrita. Gradually son is getting well and he is all right.
Srila Prabhupada's early memories of his father Guru Mohan Day. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Volume 1, Chapter 1. Guru Mohan was a pure Vaishnava and he raised his son to be Krishna conscious. Since his own parents had been Vaishnavas, Guru Mohan had never touched meat, fish, eggs, tea or coffee. His complexion was fair and his disposition reserved. At night he would lock up his cloth shop and set a bowl of rice in the middle of the floor to satisfy the rats so that they would not chew the cloth in their hunger and return home. There he would read from Chaitanya, Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the main scriptures of Bengali Vaishnavas, chant on his beads and worship the deity of Lord Krishna. He was gentle and affectionate and would never punish Abhay. Even when obliged to correct him, Guru Mohan would first apologize. You are my son, so now I must correct you. It is my duty. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father would chastise him, so don't mind. Srila Prabhupada, my father's income was no more than 250 rupees, but there was no question of need. In the mango season, when we were children, we would run through the house playing, and we would grab mangoes and we were running through, and all through the day we would eat mangoes. We would have to think, can I have a mango? My father always, we wouldn't have to think, can I have a mango? My father was always provide food. Mangoes were 1 rupee a dozen. Life was simple and there was always plenty. We were middle class but receiving 4 or 5 guests daily. My father gave 4 daughters in marriage, and there was no difficulty for him. Maybe it was not a very luxurious life, but there was no scarcity of food or shelter or cloth. Daily he purchased 2.5 kilograms of milk. He did not like to purchase retail, but would purchase a year's supply of coal by the cartload. We were happy, not that because we did not purchase a motor car, we were unhappy. My father used to say, God has 10 hands. If he wants to take away from you with 2 hands, how much can you protect? And when he wants to give you with 10 hands, then with your 2 hands, how much can you take? My father would rise a little late, around 7 or 8. Then after taking bath, he would go purchasing. Then from 10 o'clock to 1 in the afternoon, he was engaged in puja. Then he would take his lunch and go to business. And in the business shop, he would take a little rest for 1 hour. He would come home from business at 10 o'clock at night, and then he would do puja again. Actually, his real business was puja. For livelihood, he did some business. His puja was his main business. We would be sleeping, and Father would be doing arati, ding, ding, ding. We would hear the bell and wake up and see him bowing down before Krishna. Guru Maharaja wanted Vaishnava goals for his son. He wanted Abai to become a servant of Radharani, to become a preacher of the Bhagavatam, and to learn the devotional art of playing Mridanga. He regularly received sadhus in his home, and he would always ask them, "Please bless my son so that Srimati Radharani may be pleased with him and grant him her blessings."
Prabhupada liked kachuris. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Volume 1, Chapter 1. Abai was an acknowledged pet child of both his parents. In addition to his childhood names Moti, Nandulal, Nandu and Kocha, his grandmother called him Kachuri Mukhi because of his fondness for kachuris, spicy, vegetable-stuffed fried pastries, popular in Bengal. Both his grandmother and mother would give him kachuris, which he kept in the many pockets of his little vest. He liked to watch the vendors cooking on the busy roadside and accepted kachuris from them and from the neighbours until all the inside and outside pockets of his vest were filled. Sometimes when Abai demanded that his mother make him kachuris, she would refuse. Once she even sent him to bed. When Gormahan came home and asked, "Where is Abai?" Rajani explained how he had been too demanding and she had sent him to bed without kachuris. "No, we should make them for him," his father replied. And he woke Abai and personally cooked puris and kachuris for him. Gormahan was always lenient with Abai and careful to see that his son got whatever he wanted. When Gormahan returned home at night, it was his practice to take a little puffed rice, and Abai would also sometimes sit with his father eating puffed rice.
Yeah, I gotta have this for my light. Srila Prabhupada organizes Rath Yatra as a young boy. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Volume 1, Chapter 1. Abai was enamored with the Rath Yatra festivals of Lord Jagannath held yearly in Calcutta. The biggest Calcutta Rath Yatra was the Muliks, with 3 separate carts bearing the deities of Jagannath, Baladeva, and Subhadra. Beginning from the Radha Govinda temple, the carts would proceed down Harrison Road for a short distance and then return. The Muliks would distribute large quantities of Lord Jagannath's prasadam to the public on this day. Rath Yatra was held in cities all over India, but the original gigantic Rath Yatra attended each year by millions of pilgrims took place 300 miles south of Calcutta at Jagannath Puri. For centuries at Puri, 3 wooden carts, 45 feet high, had been towed by the crowds along the 2-mile parade route in commemoration of one of Lord Krishna's eternal pastimes. Abai had heard how Lord Chaitanya himself, 400 years before, had danced and led ecstatic chanting of Hare Krishna at the Puri Rath Yatra festival. Abai would sometimes look at the railway timetable or ask about the fare to Vrindavan and Puri, thinking about how he would collect the money and go there. Abai wanted to have his own cart and to perform his own Rath Yatra, and naturally he turned to his father for help. Gaur Mohan agreed, but there were difficulties. When he took his son to several carpenter shops, he found that he could not afford to have a cart made. On their way home, Abai began crying, and an old Bengali woman approached and asked him what the matter was. Gaur Mohan explained that the boy wanted a Rath Yatra cart, but they couldn't afford to have one made. "Oh, I have a cart," the woman said, and she invited Gormohan and Abai to her place and showed them the cart. It looked old, but it was still operable, and it was just the right size, about 3 feet high. Gormohan purchased it and helped to restore and decorate it. Father and son together constructed 16 supporting columns and placed a canopy on top, resembling as closely as possible the ones on the big carts at Bowery. They also attached the traditional wooden horse and driver to the front of the cart. Abai insisted that it must look authentic. Gormohan bought paints and Abai personally painted the cart, copying the Puri originals. His enthusiasm was great, and he became an insistent organizer of various aspects of the festival. But when he tried making fireworks for the occasion from a book that gave illustrated descriptions of the process, Rajani intervened. Abai engaged his playmates in helping him, especially his sister Baba Tarini, and he became their natural leader. Responding to his entreaties, amused mothers in the neighborhood agreed to cook special preparations so that he could distribute the prasadam at the Rath Yatra festival. Like the festival at Puri, Abai's Rath Yatra ran for 8 consecutive days. His family members gathered, and the neighborhood children joined in a procession, pulling the cart, playing drums and kartals and chanting, wearing a dhoti and no shirt in the heat of the summer. Abai led the children in chanting Hare Krishna and in singing the appropriate Bengali bhajans, Ki Kara Rai Kamalini. What are you doing, Srimati Radharani? Please come out and see. They are stealing your dearmost treasure, Krishna, the black gem. If the young girl only knew the young boy Krishna, treasure of her heart, is now forsaking her. Abai copied whatever he had seen at adult religious functions, including dressing the deities, offering the deities food, offering arati with a ghee lamp and incense, and making prostrated obeisances. From Harrison Road, the procession entered the circular road inside the courtyard of the Radha Govinda temple and stood a while before the deities. Seeing the fun, Gormohan's friends approached him. Why haven't you invited us? You're holding a big ceremony and you don't invite us? What is this? They are just children playing, his father replied. Oh, children playing, the men joked. You are depriving us by saying that this is only for children? While Abai was ecstatically absorbed in the Rath Yatra processions, Gormohan spent money for 8 consecutive days, and Rajani cooked various dishes to offer, along with flowers to Lord Jagannath. Although everything Abai did was imitation, his inspiration and steady drive to hold the festival were genuine. His spontaneous spirit sustained the 8-day children's festival, and each successive year brought a new festival which Abai would observe in the same way.
Prabhupada's mother passes away. Srila Prabhupada, Lila Amrita, Volume 1, Chapter 1. When Abai was 15, he was afflicted with beriberi, and his mother, who was also stricken, regularly had to rub a powder of calcium chloride on his legs to reduce the swelling. Abai soon recovered, and his mother, who had never stopped any of her duties, also recovered. But only a year later, at the age of 46, his mother suddenly died. Her passing away was an abrupt lowering of the curtain, ending the scenes of his tender childhood. His mother's affectionate care, her prayers and mantras for his protection, her feeding and grooming him, her dutifully scolding him, her passing affected his sisters even more than him, though it certainly turned him more towards the affectionate care of his father. He was already 16, but now he was forced to grow up and prepare to enter on his own into worldly responsibilities. His father gave him solace. He instructed Abai that there was nothing for which to lament. The soul is eternal, and everything happens by the will of Krishna. So he should have faith and depend upon Krishna. Abai listened and understood.
Prabhupada at Scottish Churches College. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Volume 1, Chapter 2. College life was demanding. No longer was Abai free to spend hours before the deities of Radha and Govinda early in the morning. That had been a boyhood luxury. When he would daily pass hours in the Mullik's temple before the golden forms of Radha Govinda, watching the pujaris as they worshipped the deities with incense, flowers, lamps, musical kirtan, and opulent prasadam. As a child, he had played within the grassy compounds of the temple, or watched the men cooking kachoris on the roadside, or bicycled or flown his kite with his sister, Baba Tarini. His life had always centered on his home at Harrison Road, his mother's talks, his father's worshipping Krishna. These scenes were now past. Now he spent his days within the compound of the Scottish Churches College. Here there was also a lawn and a garden with birds and even a small banyan tree. But instead of worship, there was study. The atmosphere at Scottish churches was academic, and even the casual conversation among the students as they gathered before the notice boards at the main entrance or passed in groups in and out of the main gates was usually about class assignments and the college gate activities. When Abai was not actually sitting side by side with his fellow students, sharing classroom bench before one of the long desks that stood row after row in the lecture hall, when he was not looking attentively forward during the lecture of one of his professors, usually he reverend dressed in a European suit, speaking a Scottish brogue and pronouncing words like duty and duty. When he was not actually in a classroom hearing their lectures on a Western logic or chemistry or psychology, then he was at the homework assignments, sitting at a table amidst the bookshelves in the college library, reading from an open book or writing notes while the electric fan overhead rippled the pages. Or he was at home with his father, sister and brothers, but reading his lessons or writing a paper for the reverend in the lecture hall. He had to abandon worshipping the Krishna deity he had demanded his father give him years before. He had retired his deities to a closed box. One night after the first year of college, Abai had an unusual dream. The deity of Krishna his father had given him had appeared to Abai, complaining, "Why have you put me in this box? You should take me out and worship me again." Abai felt sorry that he had neglected his deity, and he resumed the worship of Radha and Krishna at home, despite his assignments.
Prabhupada's marriage is arranged. Guru Mohan watched his son with concern. He saw Abai not as one of the hundreds of millions of instruments meant to change India's political destiny, but as his pet son. His first concern was for Abai's welfare. While world events moved across the stage of history, Guru Mohan concentrated on his son's future, as he hoped it would be, and as he had always prayed it would be. He was planning for Abai to become a pure Vaishnava, a devotee of Radharani. He taught Abai to worship Krishna and be pure in character, and had arranged for his education. Now Guru Mohan thought of getting him married. According to the Vedic system, a marriage should be carefully arranged by the parents, and it should take place before the girl reaches puberty. Guru Mohan had gotten his first daughter married in her 9th year, his second daughter at 12 years, and his third daughter at 11. When his second daughter was going on 12, Rajani had said, "I shall go to the river and commit suicide if you don't get her married at once." In the Vedic system, there was no courtship, nor was the couple allowed to live together during the first years of their marriage. The young girl would begin serving her husband by cooking for him at her parents' house and coming before him to serve him his meal, or by taking part in some other formal exchange. Then as the boy and girl grew to physical maturity, they would become so lovable to one another that they would be inseparable. The girl would naturally remain faithful to her husband, since she would have no association with any other boy as she grew to puberty. Guru Mohan had many friends in Calcutta with eligible young daughters, and for a long time he'd been considering a suitable wife for Abai. After careful consultation, he finally chose Radharani Dutt, the daughter of a Suvarna Varnik family associated with the Malaks. Radharani was 11 years old. After the meeting between her father and Guru Mohan, both families agreed upon the marriage. Although his marriage had only recently begun, Abai was dissatisfied. Radharani Dutt was an attractive young girl, but Abai had never really liked her. He was thinking maybe a different wife would be better, a second wife besides this one. In India, it was socially acceptable to marry a second wife, so Abai decided to take the matter into his own hands. He made arrangements to approach the parents of another girl. But when his father heard about it, he called Abai and said, "My dear boy, you are eager to take a second wife, but I would advise you not to. It is Krishna's grace that your present wife is not to your liking. Take it as a great fortune. If you do not become too attached to your wife and family, that will help you in your future advancement in spiritual life." Abai accepted his father's advice. He wanted to obey his father, and he appreciated the saintly viewpoint. But he remained thoughtful, a bit awed by his father's forethought, and he wondered how one day in the future he would be advancing in spiritual life and be grateful that his father had done this. Your future advancement in spiritual life. Abai liked the idea. He reconciled himself to the wife he had been given.
Prabhupada refuses a degree. His father gets him a job. Guru Mohan had his plans for Abai, and the college degree had been an integral part of those plans. But Krishna, it seemed, had other plans. The political protest of Abai's refusing the Bachelor of Arts degree was more a mark of honour than a social stigma, and Guru Mohan did not reproach his son for it. But Abai still needed to take up some kind of work. Guru Mohan approached his friend Karthik Bose and asked him to employ Abai. Dr. Karthik Chandra Bose, an intimate friend, had been the family doctor since Abai's childhood. He was a distinguished surgeon, a medical scholar, and a chemical industrialist. He had his own establishment, Bose's Laboratory, in Calcutta, where he manufactured drugs, soaps, and other products for the pharmaceutical industry. Dr. Bose was well known throughout India as the first Indian to manufacture pharmaceutical preparations that had formerly been monopolized by European firms. He agreed to accept Abai as the department manager at his laboratory. Although Abai knew little of the pharmaceutical industry or of management, he felt confident that by reading a few related books, he could learn what he needed to know. But when this new young man was suddenly given the post of department manager, several workers became dissatisfied. Some of them were elderly and had been 40 years with the firm. They voiced their dissatisfaction amongst themselves and finally confronted Dr. Bose. Why had this young man been put in charge? Dr. Bose replied, "Oh, for that position I needed someone I could trust like my own son. He is signing checks for 40,000 rupees. I could only entrust the personal handling of my accounts in that department to him. His father and I are very close, and this young man is known to me practically as my son." Guru Mohan felt he had done his best. His prayer was that the principles of pure Vaishnavism he had taught his son would stay with him and guide him throughout his life. Gandhi and the cause of Swaraj had disrupted Abai's college career, and Abai was still inclined towards nationalism, but not so much for a political motive as for a spiritual vision. So Guru Mohan was content. He knew the marriage arrangement was not pleasing to Abai, but Abai had accepted his explanation that detachment from wife and family affairs would be good for spiritual advancement. And Abai was showing an inherent disinterest in materialistic affairs. This also did not displease Guru Mohan, to whom business had always been subservient to his worship of Lord Krishna. He had expected this. Now Abai had a promising job and would be making the best of his marriage. Guru Mohan had done what he could, and he depended on Krishna for the ultimate result.
Prabhupada meets a spiritual master, Prabhupada, messenger of the Supreme Lord by Satsvarup Das Goswami. Often, throughout his life, Srila Prabhupada would feelingly recall his first meeting in 1922 with his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. At first, Abai didn't want to meet him, having been unimpressed by the so-called sadhus who used to visit his father's house. But a friend of Abai's had insisted, escorting him to the quarters of the Gaudiya Math, where they were brought onto the roof and into the presence of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. No sooner did Abai and his friend respectfully bow before the saintly person and prepare to sit, than he said to them, "You are educated young men. Why don't you preach Lord Chaitanya's message throughout the whole world?" Abai was very surprised the sadhu had immediately asked them to become preachers on his behalf. Impressed by Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he wanted to test him with intelligent inquiries. Abai was dressed in white khadi cloth, which at that time in India proclaimed one to be a supporter of Gandhi's cause for political emancipation. In the spirit of Indian nationalism, therefore, Abai inquired, "Who will hear your Chaitanya's message? We are a dependent country. First, India must become independent. How can we spread India's culture if we are under British?" Srila Bhaktisiddhanta replied that Krishna consciousness didn't have to wait for a change in Indian politics, nor was it dependent on who ruled. Krishna consciousness was so important that it could not wait. Abai was struck by his boldness. The whole of India was in turmoil and seemed to support what Abai had said. Many famous leaders of Bengal, many saints, even Gandhi himself, men who were educated and spiritually minded, all might well have asked the same question, challenging the sadhu's relevance. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta contended all governments were temporary. The eternal reality was Krishna consciousness, and the real self was the spirit soul. No man-made political system could help humanity. This was the Vedic scriptures and the line of spiritual masters. Real public welfare, he said, should go beyond concerns of the temporary and prepare a person for his next life and his eternal relationship with the Supreme. Abai had already concluded that this was certainly not just another dubious sadhu, and he listened attentively to the arguments of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and found himself gradually becoming convinced. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati quoted Sanskrit verses from Bhagavad Gita, wherein Lord Krishna declares that a person should give up all other religious duties and surrender unto him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Abai had never forgotten Lord Krishna and his teachings in Bhagavad Gita, and his family had always worshipped Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose mission Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was espousing. But he was astounded to hear those teachings presented so masterfully. Abai felt defeated in argument, but he liked it. When the discussion was completed after 2 hours, he and his friend walked down the stairs and onto the street. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's explanation of the independence movement as a temporary, incomplete cause had made a deep impression on Abai. He felt himself less a nationalist and more a follower of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. He also thought it would have been better if he weren't married. This great personality was asking him to preach. He could have immediately joined. But to leave his family, he felt, would be an injustice. "He's wonderful," Abai told his friend. "The message of Lord Chaitanya is in the hands of a very expert person." Srila Prabhupada would later recall that on that very night, he had actually accepted Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati as his spiritual master. "Not officially," Prabhupada said, "but in my heart. I was thinking that I had met a very nice, saintly person."
Prabhupada, the ardent listener, from Srila Prabhupada's lecture from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, 8:15, Mayapur, September the 29th, 1974. My Guru Maharaj was very kind upon me because I was very much interested to hear him. That you know, I hear him. I did not understand him actually. In the beginning, I could not understand him. He was speaking in so high philosophical way that it was not. Still, I wanted to hear him. That was my only qualification.
Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada stands out to his spiritual master and receives instructions. Prabhupada, messenger of the Supreme Lord by Satsvarup Das Goswami. In 1935, on the occasion of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's 62nd birthday, Abai submitted a poem and an essay at a meeting of his godbrothers in Bombay. The writings were well received and were consequently published in the Gaudiya magazine, The Harmonist. One of his godbrothers informally dubbed Abai as Kavi, learned poet. For Abai, however, the glory of his first published writing came when the poem reached Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and gave him pleasure. One stanza specifically made Srila Bhaktisiddhanta so happy that he made a point of showing it to all his guests. Absolute sentient, thou hast proved personal calamity, thou hast moved. Somehow, in the simple couplet, Abai had captured the essence of his spiritual master's preaching against impersonalist philosophies, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta took it as an indication of how well Abai knew the mind of his Gurudev. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta also found Abai's essay pleasing, and he showed it to some of the confidential devotees. Whatever he writes, instructed the editor of Harmonist, publish it.
One of Abai's most significant meetings with his spiritual master took place in Vrindavan in 1935. Abai was no longer a newcomer, but a bona fide disciple, doing his best within the context of a householder's life. One day, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was walking by the sacred lake of Radha Kund with Abhay and several other disciples, he began speaking confidentially to Abhay. Some of his leading disciples had been quarreling, he said, and this distressed him very much. The disciples had been fighting over who would use various rooms and facilities at the Gaudiya Math headquarters in Calcutta. If they were quarreling even now, what would they do after their spiritual master passed away? Abai had no part in these matters and did not even know the details of what was involved. But as he listened to his spiritual master, he also became distressed. Deeply concerned, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said to Abhay, "There will be fire. One day there would be fire in the Calcutta Gaudiya Math. And that fire of party interest would spread and destroy." Abhay heard but did not know what to make of it. "It would be better," said Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, "to take the marble from the walls of the temple to secure money. If I could do this and print books, that would be better." Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati then said directly to Abhay, "I had a desire to print some books. If you ever get money, print books." Standing by Radha Kund and beholding his spiritual master, Abhay felt these words deeply enter his life. If you ever get money, print books. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta departed from the mortal world in December 1936. 1 month before his departure, Abhay wrote him a letter. He was thinking that as a grihastha he couldn't fully serve his spiritual master, and he wanted to know what more he could do. Thus he inquired, "Is there any particular service I can do?" 2 weeks later, Abhay received a reply. I am fully confident that you can explain in English our thoughts and arguments to the people who are not conversant with the languages Bengali and Hindi. This will do much good to yourself as well as your audience. I have every hope that you can turn yourself into a very good English preacher. Abhay at once recognized this to be the same instructions he had received at his first meeting with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in 1922. He took it as a confirmation. He now had no doubt as to the purpose of his life.
Prabhupada taking Vanaprasths, a recollection of a conversation by Mulla Prakriti Devi Dasi with B.R. Sridhar Swami from our Srila Prabhupada, a friend to all. Early contemporaries remember him. A very vivid memory that Srila Sridhar Maharaj shared described his part in Srila Prabhupada's leaving his Calcutta home and taking Vanaprastha. This was in the early 1950s. He said one night around 1 or 2 a.m. there was a vigorous knocking on the door of the upstairs mutt. It was Srila Prabhupada in great excitement, exclaiming how he had just experienced a vivid dream. Their Guru Maharaja, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, had appeared to him and strongly ordered him to renounce his household life and take the sannyas order. Srila Prabhupada was shaking with emotion, explaining how he had so much responsibility to the family and to that dharma, so how could this be done? Srila Sridhar Maharaj said that Abhay Babu nevertheless earnestly requested him to please award this sannyas ashram to him immediately. Srila Maharaj told him that he was personally favorably disposed to do this, except for the connection he had with the Malik and Day family. He explained how they would most probably be disturbed if he were to be the agent. He felt it was perhaps better to do things gradually, and he suggested he prepare himself internally and then gradually introduce the idea to all of them. Then he should wait for some time to see the results. Srila Prabhupada accepted this proposal reluctantly. Some months passed, and they continued their association and preaching programs wherever Srila Sridhar Maharaj visited the Calcutta mutt. Some time later, as he was sleeping during the night, there was the same loud banging on the door. Srila Prabhupada was there, and he repeated his story. Their Gurudev had again appeared in his dream. Even more forcefully, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada was demanding that his disciple quit his home life and take the renounced order. Again, Srila Prabhupada requested Srila Maharaj to give him sannyas. He exclaimed that he was ready at that moment. His reservations were all gone, and he was eager to obey their Guru's orders. Srila Sridhar Maharaj told me, I again requested him to please wait a while longer. I suggested he take Bahudak sannyas, which involves living just a short distance away from the home, but still near enough for the family's gradual detachment. It was family that perhaps many might go against the Gaudiya Math because of this. I encouraged caution. However, this time he was not amenable. He listened to my proposal, but replied that it was not his own decision. It was coming from above, from their master, so it must be done. The next morning, when he awoke, there was no commotion in the house next door. He had left his residence in that night. He was gone, and none were informed of his destination. Who took nothing, no baggage, no clothes, no prasad or Lakshmi. I consider this to be my great loss.
Prabhupada is instructed to take sannyas. Prabhupada, Messenger of the Supreme Lord by Svatsarup Das Goswami. One day, in a renounced and solitary mood, Abhay composed a Bengali poem entitled Vrindavan Bhajan. Its opening stanzas were especially self-reflective and personal. 1. I am sitting alone in Vrindavan Dham. In this mood, I am getting many realizations. I have my wife, sons, daughters, grandsons, everything, but I have no money. So they are a fruitless glory. Krishna has shown me the naked form of material nature. By his strength, it has all become tasteless to me today. Yasyaham anugrinami ahariyasye tadananam sanaha sanai. I gradually take away all the wealth of those upon whom I am merciful. How was I able to understand this mercy of the All-Merciful? Everyone has abandoned me, seeing me penniless. Wife, relatives, friends, brothers, everyone. This is misery, but it gives me a laugh. I sit alone and laugh in this Maya samsara. Whom do I really love? Where have my loving father and mother gone now? And where are all my elders, who were my own folk? Who will give me the news of them? Tell me who? All that is left of this family. Life is a list of names. One night Abai had a striking dream, the same dream he had several times before during his days as a householder. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared. Just as Abai had known him, the tall, scholarly sannyasi coming directly from the spiritual world, from Krishna's personal entourage. He called to Abai and indicated that he should follow repeatedly. He called and motioned. He was asking Abai to take sannyas. Come, he urged, become a sannyasi. Abai awoke in a state of wonder. He thought of this instruction as another feature of the original instruction Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had given him at their first meeting in Calcutta, the same instruction that his spiritual master had later solidified in a letter. Become an English preacher and spread Krishna consciousness throughout the Western world. Sannyas was for the end. Otherwise, why would his spiritual master have asked him to accept it? In the standard Vedic social system, a man is supposed to leave his family at 50 and become a renounced monk, a sannyasi, and thus dedicate his remaining days to chanting, hearing, and preaching the glories of the Lord. Abai reasoned that his spiritual master was saying, now take sannyas and you will actually be able to accomplish this mission. Formerly, the time was not right.
Prabhupada formally takes sannyas in 1959. B.V. Narayan Maharaj remembers from our Srila Prabhupada, a friend to all. Early contemporaries remember him. Abhayacharana Vindam Prabhu thus agreed to accept sannyas, and the ceremony was held the very next day, which was the auspicious Vishvarup Mahatva. Prabhu asked, how should I prepare? I told him, don't worry, I will arrange everything. I prepared his sannyas dhoti, bahir vesha, outer cloth, uttariya, and danda with my own hands. I taught him how to wear all these things, and then I performed the fire yagya. Akinchana Krishnadas Babiji Maharaj came, and Seshashi Brahmachari, Kunja Bihari Brahmachari, Pariyaktaka Maharaj, and many other persons were there. Now most of these devotees have departed. Sanatan Prabhu took sannyas with Swamiji, and he became Bhakti Vedanta Muni Maharaj. He was over 90 years old and had said to Swamiji, if you agree to take sannyas, then so shall I. He also is no longer here, having joined the eternal service of Krishna. I recited the yagya mantras and performed the ceremony. Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, Prabhu's intimate godbrother and friend, chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He chanted continuously from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. in a most sweet and deep manner. The sannyas name that Srila Bhakti Pragyana Keva Maharaj came to Abhay Charanarvindam Prabhu is Swami. It is one of the bona fide sannyas names and means controller and master. The title Bhakti Vedanta had already been awarded in Calcutta by some of his godbrothers, and Maharaj is a formal ending for those in the renounced order. The name Swami is just fitting because Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj became the controller of many jivas' hearts due to his being so strong and faithful to his Gurudev. This is why we affectionately call him Swamiji. We do not at all mean this in a common way. Rather, it shows the greatest respect. After the ceremony, Gurudev Srila Bhakti Prayana Keshava Swami requested Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj to speak, and he spoke in English. Though almost everyone there could not understand that language, he explained that it was then that he remembered his Gurudev's specific orders to preach in the English language. He said, "I feel fortunate to accept sannyas from my god brother, Srila Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Goswami Maharaj. I have known him for a long time, and he is my close friend. He is a very bona fide disciple of our Jagad Guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. He has kindly given me this sannyas. Sripada Narayan Maharaj and Srila Muni Maharaj have also given me inspiration to do this. The order of sannyas means to preach the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the mission of Sri Guru everywhere. My Gurudev instructed me to preach in English in the Western countries, and that is why I am writing English articles and books. I am praying to Krishna, Gurudev, and all the Vaishnavas that they should give me the power to preach this mission all over the world."
A revolution through literature, the monumental task, summarized from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit. After taking sannyas, Bhaktivedanta Swami's conviction grew that to fulfill his spiritual master's order, he needed more than his fortnightly magazine. He was advised by both a librarian and an army officer that books were permanent, whereas newspapers were read once and thrown away. He took this as a direct revelation from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who had himself prioritized publishing books over constructing temples. This solidified his resolve to embark on his life's most ambitious project, translating the 18,000-verse Srimad Bhagavatam into English with commentary. He chose the Bhagavatam because it was the spotless Purana, the graduation study of the spiritual life that Lord Chaitanya himself had cherished. He envisioned a comprehensive, multi-volume edition that would one day change the hearts of the world. He calculated the full work would require at least 60 volumes. His work routine was intense and solitary, whether in a small room in Delhi's Chippiwada or later at the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. He would rise at 1 a.m. to begin translating, often working by the light of a kerosene lantern during power outages. He would type for hours on his portable typewriter. His process was meticulous. He worked from a Sanskrit and Bengali edition of the Bhagavatam, edited by his own spiritual master. He would first type the original Devanagari verse, followed by a Roman transliteration. He then provided a word-for-word translation of the Sanskrit. Before writing his own purports, he would deeply study the commentaries of previous great masters like Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, and Vishwanath Chakravarti. Finally, he would compose his own commentary, or purport, in English, making the timeless knowledge relevant for the modern age.
The shelter of the Acharyas. Moving to Radha Damodara temple. Summarized from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. In July 1962, Bhaktivedanta Swami moved to his Vrindavan residence to the historic Radha Damodara temple. He had been renting 2 rooms there for 3 years, gradually paying for repairs and the installation of electricity. The location was unparalleled for his work. The Radha Damodar temple was the eternal home of the great saints Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami, and housed the largest collection of their original manuscripts. From his writing desk, he could see the temple altar, and from his kitchen he could view the sacred tomb or samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami. He would often sit and chant japa before Rupa Goswami's
before mission, feeling his presence and drawing immense inspiration for his mission. His daily routine was centered on translating the Srimad Bhagavatam, often starting at 1 a.m. When the temple was silent, he felt that he was in an eternal residence, associating intimately with the great spiritual masters of the past. He understood that they wanted him to go to the West. He felt that Krishna had personally arranged for him to come to this powerful place to receive the blessings and final orders from the predecessor acharyas before embarking on his life's work.
Prabhupada prepares to depart for the West. Prabhupada, a messenger of the Supreme Lord by Satsvarupa Das Goswami. At one time, Bhaktivedanta Swami sent an advanced Srimad Bhagavatam first and second volume publication to the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri. Soon he received a reply, personally signed by the Prime Minister. Dear Swamiji, many thanks for your letter. I am indeed grateful to you for presenting a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam to me. I do realize that you are doing valuable work. It would be a good idea if the libraries and the government institutions purchase copies of this book. Using favorable reviews as advertisements, Bhaktivedanta Swami visited prospective donors as he tried to raise funds for further volumes. Finally, with his manuscript in hand and with money to print it, he again entered the printing world, purchasing paper, correcting proofs, and keeping the printer on schedule so that each book would be finished on time. Thus, by his persistence, he who had almost no money of his own managed to publish his third large, hard-bound volume within a little more than 2 years. At this rate, with his respect in the scholarly world increasing, Bhaktivedanta Swami might soon become a recognized figure amongst his countrymen. But he had his vision set on the West. And with the third volume now printed, he felt he was at last prepared. He was 69, and he would have to start soon. It had been more than 40 years since Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati had first asked a young householder in Calcutta to preach Krishna consciousness in the West. At first the young Abhay Charan had thought it impossible. The obstacle of family responsibilities, however, was now gone, and he was free to travel west, although penniless. With most difficulties removed, travel fare and certain items of government permission remained as the last serious restrictions. Then, rather suddenly in 1965, the final impediments were removed one after another. In Vrindavan, Bhaktivedanta Swami met Mr. Agarwal, a Mathura businessman, and mentioned to him in passing, as he did to almost everyone he met, that he wanted to go to the West. Although Mr. Agarwal had known Bhaktivedanta Swami for only a few minutes, he volunteered to try to get him a sponsor in America by asking his son Gopal, an engineer in Pennsylvania, to send back a sponsorship for him. When Mr. Agarwal volunteered to help in this way, Bhaktivedanta Swami urged him to please do so. Bhaktivedanta Swami Bhaktivedanta Swami returned to Delhi, pursuing the usual avenues of bookselling, looking for whatever opportunity might arise. One day, to his surprise, he was contacted by the Ministry of External Affairs and informed that his no-objection certificate for traveling to the U.S. was ready. Since he had not instigated any proceedings for leaving the country, he had to inquire from the ministry about what had happened. They showed him the statutory declaration form signed by Mr. Gopal Agarwal of Butler, Pennsylvania. Mr. Agarwal solemnly declared that he would bear the expenses of Bhaktivedanta Swami during his stay in the U.S. Now Bhaktivedanta Swami had a sponsor. What was I? There, thanks. But he still needed a passport, visa, P-form, and travel fare. The passport was simple. Now with passport and sponsorship papers, Bhaktivedanta Swami went to Bombay, not to sell books to raise funds for printing, but to seek assistance in getting to America. He approached Sumati Moraji, the head of the Scindia steam ship line, who had helped him with the large donation for printing Volume 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. He showed his sponsorship papers to her secretary, Mr. Chokshi, who was impressed and went to Mrs. Morarji on his behalf. To be continued tomorrow for night 2, The Journey.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Haribol. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, each of you, for reading, and I'm sure there'll be more opportunities tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be awesome. Now, if you would like, just for the minutes remaining, if you'd couple together in pairs and talk through the questions at the end of the book. There's a couple of questions there. And just to reflect on what touched your heart the most during these readings. How has Srila Prabhupada's journey inspired your own life in Krishna consciousness? Which lesson or quality of Srila Prabhupada would you like to apply more in your own life? A message of gratitude or prayer to Srila Prabhupada, and one commitment you can make to help carry Srila Prabhupada's mission forward. There's pens around. If you haven't got one, just put your hand up. We'll get you some. Find a pair. Discuss, write down. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll come back tomorrow at 5 p.m. prompt for the journey.
Hare Krishna. Also, if anyone would like to sponsor the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are also going out distributing them, so you can help in this way. Or take one home. Haribol.